Do you want to launch a profitable podcast? Before we get into this episode, I wanted to let you know about my free virtual event called the Profitable Podcasting Summit. It currently has over 20 speakers, and we continuously add to the summit experience. So you may see 30, 40, 50, even more speakers when you go over there. You'll learn exactly how you can launch, grow, and monetize your very own podcast at this summit. And you can get your free ticket to this virtual event over at profitablepodcastingsummit.com, which will be in the show notes. Anyways, let's get right into the episode. What's up, Breakthrough Success listeners? Mark Birdie, the podcasting coach here, helping people launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts. And when it comes to any goal that you're after, any project that you're doing, one of the big things that is going to impact whether you get it done or not and how well you do with that project is your self-worth. Because the more you believe in yourself, the more success you're going to see in anything that you do. So that's why this episode, we're just going to focus on the secret code to self-worth. That's going to help you boost your net worth and fuel all of the creativity and all the projects that you're doing. So self-worth, very important. This is the episode for you. Our guest who joins us today, she is an intuitive soul and creativity coach, alignment guide, and founder of the F Regret movement. She helps her clients upgrade their self-worth to live a life they love, free of regrets. Our guest who joins us today is none other than Bianca Diana. Bianca, welcome to the show.
Hey.
Bianca, thank you so much for taking the time to be on Breakthrough Success. I feel like self-worth is such an important topic. It's one of those foundational pieces where you can't really advance in anything unless you have that self-worth. So can you talk a little bit about how we could find self-worth in ourselves, even though the human mind in general is a little more critical of the different things that we do?
Yeah, and thank you for the introduction. It's so great to be here. I'm super excited. This is what I love to talk about. Self-worth, yeah, like you said, it's so important. And so how do we build that self-worth? How do we build that self-confidence? There's so many different layers. But the way that I look at it at the core starts with energy, that we are more than what meets the eye. And so my personal story is totally interwoven with being fascinated with energy and having a really creative family and being a creative myself. So I noticed that when we don't have that self-confidence, or we're not feeling that we are enough, or we don't feel like we're deserving of what we want to bring into our lives, it causes a lot of roadblocks, and it can be a very, just a really uncomfortable way to go about life. And so one of the first steps, I feel like, it has to do with ourselves, really cultivating self-worth from within our heart space is what I like to say. And what I mean by that is our heart, it regulates all of the energy centers within our body. And once we get to that place of self-worth, it opens up those channels so that we can let our creativity shine, like you said. So step one is really resonating 100% energetically with I am enough. Now, I know there's a lot of people in the spiritual realm who hear that term I am enough and saying it as an intention. The way I utilize it is when you say I am enough out loud, what comes up for you, right? Just feeling into what emotions or feelings, what thoughts are coming up that say, no, you're not, or you're not doing enough. Or
find the holes.
Exactly. And so the next part of that, though, is all that stuff comes up and we have all these stories about maybe why we're not enough, something that's happened in the past, etc. But the key here is to really tune into those feelings and those emotions. So it's an emotional intelligence sort of thing where you're really feeling the energy of what that means. With that, knowing that these things that are coming up, the reason why it triggers you so much and makes you feel all sorts of crazy emotions is because there's some stored energy there, right? We're storing energy for many different reasons, which brings me to the other stage of this question that you're asking about. what do we do to build the self-worth, is we have to let go of reference points. We have what I call reference points, and these are our core belief patternings, our memories that we have, that have created these core belief patternings. So when we start to talk about this, we get into neuroscience, talking about the brain here. Particular, there's this little cluster of nerves towards the top part of our brainstem called the reticular activating system, or I just say RAS because it sounds cool. And that mechanism right there is exactly where we store these reference points, so to speak. Because what this, do you want to hear about what this thing does? Have you heard about this? It's really cool.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So what it does is it's a filter basically for our brain, because it's said that we can only handle about 100 impulses per second. And so this is our senses, everything but our hearing, basically. All these impulses are going through this cluster of nerves, and our brain has to filter these somehow, and it's that little RAS. So what it does is it filters things that are super important, which of course that would be survival. So things that are, am I safe? Am I going to die? Right? We need to know about, are we safe? So that gets filtered to our conscious awareness. The other thing that gets filtered is, well, obviously survival is again the key here. So if you have a partner, if you're in a relationship or not, whatever, if there's any sexual advance or something, that's going to come through, right? Oh, this person wants to procreate. Okay. So it does that, but it also is controlled by what we care about in the moment, and also those belief systems that we have embedded in our subconscious is what controls what that RAS will filter through to our conscious awareness. So what this all means is, right, if we have these reference points, anything that we come up against, if we have something that we really want to do, maybe it's a creative outlet, but we feel like there's this invisible block, and we go, how do I do this? It feels so hard, or I'm scared, or I'm not enough, right? We're going to feel that limitation, and it's going to be very hard to move forward. Right. But if we let go of the reference point, the story that we're telling ourselves, that is a very real story that we have a real experience from, that this reticular activating system has a program in place to keep us safe, or that to filter, to our conscious awareness that, oh, this is happening right now. I've seen evidence that somebody has mistreated me in this way in the past, and they're doing it again. And even if they're not, we're going to believe that because that's the story that plays, right? So letting go of reference points.
And one thing that I do want to approach would be like having these core beliefs, stuff that happens to you very young really impacts you for the rest of your life. And it is a great point in being able to look at those things and see them as they are. But I feel like there's some people who, especially if you're older, and I'm not saying like maybe even if you're just in like your 30s or 40s or even older than that, like I'm saying like remembering something that happened to you when you were 3 that impacted your core beliefs. So I feel like a challenge for people would be to remember the roots and like what some of these core beliefs are that are chipping away at their self-worth. So I'm wondering how we can figure out what those are.
That's a wonderful question, because I feel like for some of us, we might think, oh, I need to actually go and dig around and look for this stuff. The beautiful thing is that just if you look at nature, there's cycles, there's seasons, energy is constantly moving. We're here to evolve, right? So through our human experience, we have all of these opportunities to do so. So we don't even need to go looking for these things. They emerge when something is ready to unfold. It does. And sometimes it just looks like you get into an argument with somebody and you're triggered and you're just feeling all this anger, resentment, or whatever comes up from that. That is a moment right there where you can step back from, whenever you have a chance to step back from the situation, go, why am I feeling this way? That's interesting. This stuff is coming up. And maybe there's something there that comes up consciously, a memory or a traumatic event, and you can then link it to that. Or you can just simply not even look for the story and go, I'm feeling this way. There's a part of me that feels this way, and just really sit with yourself and sit with that feeling. It has an energy. We don't have to buy into the label of that anger or resentment. We can just go, where do I feel that in my body? And there's always an energy there. And when you feel into that, it feels very relieving, because now the energy is allowed to do what it wants to do, what it naturally knows how to do. People sometimes say the body heals naturally, right? It knows what to do. Well, energy knows what to do. It likes to move. It's ready to do what it needs to do to leave, right? Your energetic system. And so to do that, it is about being the observer. So we are tuning into how it feels energetically, right? And so we don't need the story technically, but if it comes up, that's fine. We can observe it, allow it to flow through the conscious awareness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great insight. I feel like so many people, they just react and not really think about what they're doing or how they're doing it. But I mean, think of something that like triggers you or annoys you and ask yourself why. I mean, if you get really deep into that, you can learn a lot about yourself. I mean, it's good to analyze yourself. Like, like we're good at analyzing other things. Like investors, we analyze different companies to see which one's going to give us the greatest return. Sometimes we analyze other people to see if they're going to be like a good person to talk with or not. But I don't feel like we analyze ourselves enough, and being able to step out when you're angry and like figure out why, or like when you're happy, even when the good stuff's like why, so that you're able to have more of the good feelings, more of that good energy, and reduce on the bad energy. And I do feel like part of that, it really, a lot of it, I feel like stems from regrets, which I'm sure is why Bianca really focuses on helping her clients free themselves from that regret. So I'm wondering if you could share with us just some of the things we can do to be able to kick the regrets out of our lives.
Wonderful. I want to backtrack just a tad bit. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. When you said bad energy, I just want to do a little reframe on the word usage there and say contrasting energy, right? Because yeah, it feels bad sometimes for sure, but it's just contrast, because the contrast is what helps us to understand what we do want, right? So it's through those experiences, tuning into ourselves to say, oh, now I know what I do want, right? And leaning into that and saying yes to that when the opportunity arises. So we're really allowing ourselves to shift through these different energies, which are just a natural rhythm, natural process of the human experience. And our analyzation, last point, the analyzation that you talked about, our brain is so good at analyzing. It's an amazing mechanism, right? But adding into that capacity to analyze not only our situations around us and our own selves is the sensitivity to the energy, the feeling that you can feel through your body, right? And so sensitizing to what people would call intuition, I guess, or just energy in the environment and other people and within ourselves. When we sensitize ourselves to that system that we have in place that's innate within all of us, we're energetic beings, we magnetize things into our lives, right? In that way. It can also help us to let go of those energy blockages or those emotions that are wanting to move. So the regrets, just to define regrets too, kind of thinking of the scenario of being on your deathbed and going, oh, I wish I wouldn't have listened to this person, right? I wish I would have followed my heart and my dreams, but I was afraid. So regret is something that I say F regret too. And I mean, forget regret or the other F word. That's it's interchangeable. But the reason why is because our beliefs are so easily shaped by those around us, especially our loved ones. I, in the past for sure, and I still am influenced by my loved ones, but more so without regard to what I actually wanted when I was younger. And we're kind of wired that way because we want to belong, and people's opinions and beliefs are important to us and can shape us. So there are 3 things that you can do to forget regret, and follow your heart, which will eliminate feeling regret at any point in your life, right? So it's about just flowing with these experiences. And like you said, with that energy that feels bad, that contrasting energy, when that comes up, knowing that it's an opportunity, it's something emerging in your life, and it's just an opportunity to lean in and say yes to what you do really want. So if you feel like you're shooting all over yourself, like I should have done this, but instead I did something different, we can pivot, right? We get to pivot in our lives. Okay, you did that. Interesting. Well, now you know what you don't want, or now you know what you really do want. So start leaning into the opportunities that present themselves that are in alignment with those core values and desires that you do have, right? And then if you already did something and it's in the past, we're going to go back into, of course, moving forward, but not just brushing by it and going, oh yeah, whatever, okay, I did that, but really feeling into what might have come up as a result of that, as far as how are you feeling, what energy is moving around in your body or wanting to, right? Because there might have been a feeling of loss there. So we're going to turn the loss into a lesson.
Yep. That's how you have to view it.
Exactly. Yeah. Cultivating self-worth, of course, which is what we were talking about. And that has to do with taking a leap of heart, not a leap of faith, right? So I have a little thing there, but maybe we can talk about that later. But when you really know who you are and what you desire, and you're making decisions based upon that, then it doesn't matter if for some reason you make a different decision, or you get influenced by somebody outside of you, or you go towards what the norms are of society, or the culture that you're in, or whatever, and then realize, oh, this is totally not me. That's okay, right? If you really feel like you're worth it, if you feel like I am enough, I was born enough, obviously this wouldn't be in my life if I didn't deserve it. It's here for me. I'm a specific person, right, with a core set of beliefs and creativity that wants to emerge from within me. So there's something here, right? So another part of this is everything always happens for some sort of reason.
Yep.
Yeah. And seeing the evidence is important too. We do that in business. I think people might do this a lot too, where small wins sometimes get ignored because we have really big goals and visions.
Yeah.
So even with this stuff, with this letting go of energy and working on emotional intelligence, sometimes evidence comes through and it's so subtle, but realizing when something shifts, right? Oh my gosh, I actually thought about doing this. I would have never thought about doing this. I mean, just a little bit ago, I jumped out of a plane. I never thought I was going to jump out of a plane. That's a really big win. But there were tiny wins before that, where I was starting to open up and take different types of what you would say is a risk, right? Following my heart, taking that leap of heart where I don't know what's going to happen, but I know it's right. I feel that it's right because it is in alignment with my core values. So this is just going to make you more magnetic and to attract more of what you do want to experience in your life. And seeing that evidence and allowing it to build up builds momentum, and it proves that you are worthy. So you don't have to just have faith in it, some blind faith that, oh yeah, everything's going to work out. You actually believe it, because belief is what creates your reality.
Yeah, belief is very powerful. Another big point, the focusing on small wins. Like, you definitely have the vision, and I feel like a lot of people over focus on that. It's good to focus on it, but definitely acknowledge those small wins. When it comes to family and loved ones, if they disagree with you, like, you can still love them for disagreeing with you, but just understand that if you're really set to a goal, you should see it through and make it happen. So those are just certainly a few thoughts there on my end. For people who want to continue following your work and maybe become a client, where are some good places we can go?
Well, the easiest one is just search for me anywhere on social media. I have an Instagram, I have a Facebook, Bianca Diana. Actually, if you do the username, it's Holy Plasma, which is an interesting thing in of itself. I can explain to anybody who wants to know what that means. Just DM me. But biancadiana.com is my website where you can actually just go on there and take a quiz that I created where you can, it's a fun little quiz to find what is your creative superpower. So what is your innate creativity within you? We're all creative. Just humans in essence are creative. We're co-creating our very existence right now. So whether you're a thought leader or you actually are a creative and doing art in some form, you're creative. And so this quiz will tell you a little bit about how you are creative and what's unique about that for you, what to watch out for, I guess, or how you can really, I guess what I'm trying to say is how you can unleash your true creative potential as a human being. And then you'll be able to find out more about how to work with me through a free session I offer, or just browse around on my website.
Well, we'll include all those resources in the show notes. We will also include a link to people who want to schedule a free strategy call with me if they want help with podcasting, help with YouTube, or they want to hear about the mastermind for authors I'm doing in Florida. Those are just a few different things you could ask me about on a free strategy call, or just email me, mark@marketberg.com. Everything in the show notes. Once again, Bianca, thank you so much for coming on Breakthrough Success. It was such a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you. It was such an honor to be here.
Bianca, once again, thank you so much for coming on Breakthrough Success. And thank you for listening to this episode, taking the time to make it happen today. And the next episode we have in store is going to be one about copywriting. So if you're wondering, how do I find my avatar? How do I create copy around my avatar? And what is that secret sauce to being able to convert people into customers and being able to have more opportunities come your way? That's exactly what we talk about in the next episode. So definitely hope you stay tuned for that. Also, in the meantime, I just launched my latest podcast, Ditch the Job. We launched with 5 episodes. There are definitely more episodes on Ditch the Job at this point, but that is an option for people in addition to Breakthrough Success. That show's more oriented to how do I get out of my current job and become successful with my new career path. So Ditch the Job is the name of that show. We're doing 2 episodes a week for that show, in between doing Breakthrough Success, Profitable Public Speaking, and some of the summits like Profitable Podcasting Summit, which I mentioned at the very beginning. Anyways, I greatly appreciate you for listening to this episode. And what I want you to do is to dream big, achieve greatness, and unlock your potential today.